I'm very happy that we join this online conference this afternoon with us. So my name is Jennifer Wilken, and I'm responsible at Metoxid for the dental and medical business at the Metoxid AG. So you may think, okay, Metoxid, I never heard about it, but it's a Swiss company, and there I want to start my first slide. Just give me a second to share it with you. Hope you can see it very well. So, okay, Metoxid is a Swiss company. I told you here behind, you can see in the corner my contact details, but we can also provide us for you after this online conference. And Metoxid has a long tradition. We have a history more than over 100 years, especially in ceramics, and especially for medical devices uses ceramics. And in this field, we are in many topics the pioneers. So we started the first in 1983, the first hip implant of ceramic, oxide ceramics, and in 1993 we are the first who are providing the CAD/CAM discs for dental. And even also we are the first for the dental implant system in 2000. So as you can see, we have a long tradition, and so we have made a very lot of research and development, and has our manufacturing process totally under control. And this is what I want to make clear to you today. Today we want to discuss about the quality facts around the CAD/CAM blanks. And so I have to move on, sorry for this, to our other presentation. So this is what we want to talk about. And I want to tell you something, okay, which quality facts are really important concerning the CAD/CAM blanks, because you know there are a lot of CAD/CAM blanks on the market, even very high quality, low price, high prices. But what are the topics? What you have to deal every time when you have them in your lab and you want to work with it? So of course, one of the main quality facts is the manufacturing process. So we have to concern, and I will tell you some about the difference concerning the manufacturing processes. Next point are also the quality and the composition of raw materials. I will also tell you something about, and even you may don't know, but it's a very important fact, the solubility of the material in the oral environment of the patient. And also because we have zirconium oxide, we have to concern about the radioactivity of the zirconium oxide. And this is what most of the CAD/CAM companies manufacture, publicate the Flexware range, of course, as well. And even the last thing, aesthetic is also very important. And all this gives you the clinical reliability. So even if you have all these facts, all these facts I have listed up, then you are sure that you reduce the minimum of the failure rates for single crowns and your bridge structures. So let me tell you about something about the manufacturing process. This is what the mainly most companies do, the anaxial pressing. So they press from the bottom and from the top the CAD/CAM blank so that you have a blank. But it's very important that you also do the second step, the isostatic pressing process. There the pressure comes from all these sides, and you have to be, even if you use this second step of manufacturing, you are sure that you have no cavities or such gaps in the CAD/CAM blanks, which maybe goes through a crack later if you do a restoration. So you have a strong, homogeneous, even structure, and it's optimal for your density and shrinking behavior as well. And this allows you, especially, I told you, for example, the multi-unit bridges and very big constructions. So this is important to know. So if you have a CAD/CAM blank in your lab, you have to be sure That's also in this way manufacturing, even the isostatic present process. What's about the quality and the composition of the raw materials? So you have to know, I know this is in German, but I will explain you in English. You have to know about the ceramic very well, the material. So ceramic has different crystal phases. So sudden, if you heat the ceramic, the volume increase a lot in this temperature. So you have different phases from tetragonal to monocline. And if you don't control it, you have a very high susceptibility to subcritical crack growth. So you have to find the right composition of the oxides and the temperature and all these raw materials to get the most favorable long-term strange. So there are a lot of publications to this topic in PubMed. I even mentioned year one for this. So this is a very important fact. So as you can see, this is our portfolio, the Z-cut portfolio. And you have to concentrate on the yttrium oxide and the aluminum oxide. So it depends on the indication you want to use for your CAD/CAM blank, how this combination is work. So look up your CAD/CAM blanks in your lab and see, okay, how this combination is work. And if you really have the right indication with your working CAD/CAM blank for your restoration. And also very important fact, and I'm not sure if many companies do this in this way, because there's no publication in a very good way for a lot of manufacturer. So you have to take care of the solubility of the material in the oral environment. So you know, in the patient mouth, there's like an acid oral environment, and you have to take care that your zirconium oxide you use in your CAD/CAM black is stable. So you see an excerpt of our test. Yeah, here you can see the specific solubility, and it's really, really low. It's only 31 microgram, and it's very far below the limit, which is given by the ISO standard. So this makes you sure that your structure is only shown by that, even if you have an oral environment, which is the acid in your patient mouth. Sometimes, if you don't take care of your raw material, it can be look like this. After some years, you have some cracks, some gaps. And this, you can imagine, is not good for the flexural strange when you have a gap between your structure. And even some of these particles can increase the biological risk for patients. So you need a low solubility to decrease the biological risk. Because if you have some of these particles in the process of the body, it can cause also inflammatory processes. It's also very important to know that many materials contain traces of radioactive elements, as well also the base from zirconium oxide is one. So it's very important to use raw materials which are really, really good manufacturing process and which are really filtered out this radioactivity, so don't get it in your body. And we are at Metoxid has, yeah, I told you, long tradition over 100 years, and have made this quality process perfectly. So we assured you and guarantee you that this radioactivity doesn't exist in our CAD/CAM blanks or our zirconium oxide. Now came to a really high discussed topic. So the flexural strange. You even see if they advertise of some companies, all the new companies are coming up and they advertise with a very high flexural strange. But it's important to know which test method they use. So we have 3 different test methods. The first one you can see on the left side is a 3-point bending. So the pressure came only from one side to the ceramic. This is very lovely for the ceramic, yeah, because ceramic is very stable to come for one pressure from one side. In the middle, you can see the 4-point bending test. So here, the pressure came from two sides to the ceramic. So this is like the situation in the mouth is in the patient, because you have static and fatigue powers in the mouth. And the second one is, the third one is not only mentioned, right? So most of the companies use the 3-point bending test, or give you the values for the 3-point bending test. But I show you now, not why it does work now. I show you now what is the difference. So in 2008, some guys of the University of Zurich, you may know if you are really in ceramic interested, concerning Jens Fischer and Bogna Stawacek, they make a test for all these same materials. They use different flexural strange methods for measure. And here you can see, especially, for example, in this material, how different the values are depending on the method you use. So if you use the 3-point bending test, the blue one, the value which is given out is much higher, because the pressure comes only from one side, but it's not the situation in the patient mouth. It's not the real one. So if you do the real test, the 4-point bending test, the value is much more lower. So you can see sometimes from up to 40% to 20%. This is lower. Yeah. But what a lot of companies do is this. They give you tables like this from the 3-point bending test. And now you have normally to summarize, okay, put all the values 20 up to 30% lower, and then you get the right flexural strange. Okay. And you see, this is the 800 megapascal is this what you have to be for stability, what you need for stability. And if you decrease these values 20 or 30% lower, then you see what you get. So what we do at Metoxid, of course, we know a lot of ceramic because we are the ceramic pioneers. Of course, we know we have to do the 4-point bending test because we want to sell you safe products. Yeah, we want to have safe products for you that you can work with, and even for the patients. So we do the 4-point bending test, and our characteristic strange is after that 1270. So it's really, really high and up above 800. And this also guarantee you a stable, viable module, which is really important for the sintering process. I will show you later. You also have to test not only the flexural strange, but you also have to test some different worst case scenario, we call it, okay? So you have to concern, there's no, not the same oxide in every material, because maybe, you know, in the multi-layer, there are coming up 4 different colors mixed in a right combination, but they all have a different composition of oxides. And that's very important because the higher oxidation material is getting you a lower strange. And this you have to test. If you have with this higher oxidate material, you are also allowed to get a high flexural strange. And this is what we also guarantee you. And for sure, the aesthetic, yeah, is really important. So I'm very happy to see Michele beside us. And I just want to introduce by myself Michele shortly. So he's a very friend of us, and he used different materials, but also Metoxid materials, and he's very happy about me. So he give us some different cases. He's a mandatory dental technician, very excellent key opinion leader in this field. And maybe Michele, you can much more better explain by yourself your cases like I do, because I'm not a dental technician. I'm a chemistry and a health economic beside for medical devices. So maybe Michele, should
Jennifer.
I?
Hey, Jennifer.
Hey, Domenico.
So good to see you. So Michele, it will be more comfortable if he wants to tell in Italian, I can translate for him.
Ah, okay, perfect.
Or otherwise, you can just the slideshow and then whatever you prefer. You know, you prefer maybe to get translated is faster and he can get better concept of his
perfect.
cases.
So I just will swipe up the slides and you just tell me, okay, go ahead, okay?
Yeah,
right?
Michele, se vuoi aggiungere qualcosa sulle slide che lei fa andare adesso, tu me lo dici, io faccio la traduzione. Intervieni quando vuoi.
Ok, thank you.
Okay, you can go, Jennifer. Yeah.
Mi senti?
Sì, ti sento.
Okay.
Okay, Jennifer, if you want, you can start the video. If he wants to say any comments, he will jump in and then I can translate for him.
Okay, this is not the video, it's just a PDF from Michele, but I can go ahead if you said, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, ok. Michele, questo è un PDF che gli hai dato?
Sì.
Tu lo puoi manovrare?
No, ce l'ho sull'altro.
Allora gli devi dire a lei, devi dire go e lei va alla prossima.
Ok, go.
Okay. He's going to tell you go and then you go the next and then. Vuoi dire qualcosa su questa fotografia qui?
Stai dicendo a me? Sì.
Sì.
No, vabbè, è una fotografia di presentazione.
Mm-hmm.
Grazie a Jennifer e soprattutto a Metoxid per l'invito a partecipare a questa call conference.
Fammi tradurre. He said thank you very much for Metoxid for the invitation that he had. It's a very pleasure to be here sharing his experience. Vai.
Ok. Go.
Next.
Jennifer.
Jennifer, next.
Ok.
You go with Jennifer, you go with the PDF. You have to go next. He doesn't have the chance to move the PDF.
Do you don't see this? The centering?
No, it's just the first one. It's still the first one.
Oh, okay. So I'm in the next. Okay.
We still have the first slide.
Okay. I stop it and start it again, okay?
Ok. Michele, se tu ce l'hai, la puoi lanciare tu, fai prima, no?
No, ce l'ho sull'altro computer.
Ok.
You see it now?
Okay. Here you go. Yeah. Now we have a next slide.
Oh,
okay. Questa prossima.
Oh, ok. Ok. Io sono molto felice di utilizzare Metoxid perché la maggior parte del materiale e delle varie cialde, quindi i vari Smile o One for All o One for All Multi, posso sintetizzarli alla stessa temperatura finale e quindi non effettuare in laboratorio diverse sintetizzazioni che comporterebbero ovviamente, oltre a dei costi maggiori, anche delle spese e dei tempi più lunghi per la produzione dei lavori.
Dammi il tempo di tradurre, fai delle frasi più corte. Okay, so I'm very happy to use this material from Metoxid for one of the reasons, because the final temperature for the sintering is exactly the same. So I don't really need to think all the time to use different cycles, different programs. So my workflow will be also faster than other kind of zirconia.
Ok. Questo è il primo caso realizzato con Metoxid su due laterali, 12 e 22, due denti, su impianti.
This is the first case that I would like to present. That is just for the two laterals, is 12 and 22, or 7 and 10 if it's different number, if FDA, or depends who is following this lecture.
Con Zirconio Smile è stato utilizzato.
We use here a Smile Zirconia.
Partiamo quindi dalla ceratura virtuale e poi ovviamente abbiamo eseguito un cutback leggerissimo di 0,3 decimi.
So we start with a virtual wax up, then of course the cutback of this zirconia is a very minimum. We're talking about like a 0.3 millimeter.
Particolarità di questo caso è che essendo comunque delle corone avitate abbiamo uno spessore e con i canali vite angolati abbiamo uno spessore di zirconio vestibolare molto ma molto sottile.
Since this is a security and restoration, and thickness of zirconia is very limited because we have the access hole of the implants, so our cutback is already limited.
A proposito di questa diciamo, diapositiva, possiamo notare come nella parte interna della connessione, quindi della geometria, è stato infiltrato del bianco opaco per mascherare il grigio del vario base, del T-base.
As we see here in the inside of the interface on the right side of the slide, in order to mask the titanium, the gray of the titanium, we put some internal stain and coloring that is a white opaque. So in this way, we can really mask the titanium color.
Mentre nella parte vestibolare è stato infiltrato con del colore A3, A2 e del blu.
So for the buckle, we just use some stain about a light blue and A3 color.
Questo è il risultato della ceramizzazione finale del rivestimento estetico in ceramica, dove è stata utilizzata della ceramica sottilissima, cioè uno sottilissimo strato di ceramica, e abbiamo dovuto utilizzare delle masse opache per riuscire a tirar fuori del colore, perché è molto importante, lo spessore dello zirconio era troppo sottile, quindi era molto traslucido.
So see the zirconia that we use, it was a very high translucent. I had to use some opaque material as a ceramic, as a feldspathic porcelain, in order to mask that translucency and to give the right chroma value of the restoration.
Queste sono le foto, ovviamente.
These are the picture on the different view, lateral view.
Ok. Vedete come nella parte posteriore abbiamo solo zirconio, mentre nella parte anteriore riusciamo a vedere i vari effetti di ceramica inseriti e soprattutto dei colori di sinterizzazione utilizzati. Perché ripeto, nella parte, vai.
As you see here on the palatal is just a monolithic zirconia with the staining in precintering stage, and the buckle is just a minimal layering of feldspathic porcelain.
È importante comunque aver infiltrato la zona con dei colori da infiltrazione, oltre a quelli poi superficiali.
It's really important to try to place this color, the stain in the precintering stage, in order to get that color from inside from the zirconia.
Questo è il risultato finale nel cavorale.
As you see here, this is the final results of the two laterals.
It's a good result.
Yeah, this is the final, also another picture for the buckle view.
Okay. This is another case.
This is another case that is including 4 units. Oh, sorry, 3 units here.
C'è 11, 21, 22 e 12. Un caso molto estetico, dove dovevamo anche mascherare il colore scuro del moncone inferiore.
This is a very high demand of aesthetic because we have to mask also the stump shade of the tooth prep.
Ok. This is another case.
This is another case that
dove abbiamo comparato lo Smile Zirconio con One for All 1000.
So in this case, it was just to compare the one for all zirconia with the Smile. They are two different translucency.
Abbiamo infiltrato, quindi abbiamo utilizzato la stessa tecnica di infiltrazione e vediamo come il risultato è ottimale sia nel primo caso.
We use the same technique how to place the stain on the pre-sintering stage, and we can see the results are exactly the same for the both zirconia.
Sia nel secondo caso.
Yeah.
Quindi faccio una domanda.
A second.
Faccio una domanda. Qual è lo Smile e qual è il One for All?
So he wants to ask you guys which one is the Smile or which one is the One for All? The first or the second one?
The second.
Is the second one is
Sì.
on the right we have a Smile, and on the left we have the One for All.
Ok, questo è un fantastico risultato. Per me ottenere questo risultato anche con il 1000 è un ottimo risultato.
In my opinion, to have this result also with 1000 megapascal is really, I'm really happy with this material.
Senza aver stratificato ceramica.
Without doing any porcelain build-up or any feldspathic layering. This is just a staining.
Ok, questo è il lavoro. This is another fantastic case.
This is another fantastic, everything is fantastic, Michele.
Yes, I love you. I love this. I love this. Colonna sul 13 abbiamo utilizzato come colore di infiltrazione il blu e il colore A3.
This is a monolithic zirconia Smile 600 megapascal, and we just stain on the pre-sintering stage with some browns and some bluish.
Dopo la sinterizzazione l'orange e il black.
So, and after he finalized the color after sintering using the Prodigio stains with a little black, a little orange.
Questo è ancora un caso particolare su impianti, un ponte, dove è difficile integrarsi con un lavoro estetico.
This is a high demand aesthetic because it's an implant bridge, very challenged to match colors and pink and everything.
Quindi dovevamo cercare di integrarci. Questo è il full contour, cioè tutto monolitico.
It is a full contour monolithic zirconia.
One for all.
It's one for all.
A 2. E questo è il risultato.
This is the result of monolithic, completely monolithic with a stain, pre-sintering stage, and after we Prodigio 2.
E siamo riusciti ad ottenere un buon risultato.
Hopefully we get some,
in questo cavorale.
in this kind of situation, I mean, could be acceptable, some results in this way.
Questo è l'ultimo caso dove ho utilizzato un one for all a 2.
The same one for all zirconia.
Questo è un caso su barra, una Diamart.
Is made with the Diamart implant solution is a titanium bar with a zirconia screw on top of the bar. So this is a lower monolithic.
Sì, è stratificata la parte rossa della gengiva.
So a monolithic zirconia for the teeth, only pink porcelain on with some emphasized with the Prodigio paste stain. We will talk later, maybe more on details.
Grazie.
Thank you very much for the time.
È la passione e il lavoro che mi portano poi a cercare di far sorridere i nostri pazienti, e quindi è con il cuore che lavoro.
As you see, I work with heart, I work with passion, and that is make me happy when the patient is happy. Thank you very much for my time.
Thank you very much, Michele. Thank you very much. Join us.
Grazie.
So I will come back to our main presentation. That just give me a second. So, and I just want to summarize. Oh no, I have to share. Sorry. So you don't see anything. I have to share this. Thank you, Michele, very much for this.
Thank you.
And as you see, this is we have a very long tradition and a very good precision in all of what we do. This is our heart, our Swiss, and this is our promise to you, to give you the high quality standard of our CAD CAM blanks. And this is very important because this enables you a very precise production up to 0.01 micrometer. This is also what Michele shown in his aesthetic case when you have a cutback or something like that. And this ensures a maximum accuracy of fit of your restoration, and thus even is the highest possible quality standard for your patient. And what only now is needing, this is our ZCAD portfolio in summary, but I can send you also more information if you like. Just give me an email or something like that. And our except I can also send you. So it's like I told you before, it's very important to take care of all these parameters to have a very good CAD/CAM blank, and for you, you have a good restoration for your patient, and all are satisfied. So even you can sintering single objects or single objects and bridges together, like Michele has shown in his cases or at the beginning. And it's even possible to do speed sintering with our materials. So you have to take care of the materials if speed sintering is allowed or not. It's also possible to use any CAD/CAM machine if you like. We have no construction of this. And even the forms are not limited. So even if you have a Zirconia or something like that, then we can make just order, okay, you need a Zirconia shape, just order, and then you get a Zirconia shape, no problem. And what we only now need is perfect finish for our restoration work. And this is the next one I want to introduce now, Mr. Domenico Castione, also mandatory dental technician living in Santa Monica, USA, with Italian blood and passion in his heart. You may know, so he just helped Michele to translate and give the right words. So I'm very happy to present you this together with Domenico. And maybe Domenico, you can start now, and I will start the video. Okay.
Yeah, you can go with the video, and then later after the video, we can make the presentation as well.
Okay, very good. I will open it. And you have the word.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will launch the video. Hello, everyone.
Do you see the video? Do you see the video?
No, I cannot see the video.
Okay. Sorry. Just give me a second.
Yeah, sure.
Just a little screen I have here. So, okay. Can you see the video now?
Yes, you have to launch the video.
Start from beginning.
Here you go. This is video. Okay, hello everyone. I wish to be there in this beautiful city in Dubai, but I have to be here because I'm in the school actually, because today I have my class at 7:30 in 1 hour. So, but I'm very pleasure to be here with you guys and having this presentation. So today, what we try to present is a new material, is a ceramic in paste, basically the new generation of bonding and stain buildup. This kind of stain are not only for staining, but also we can build any shape we want, and we can go up to even 1 millimeter. Of course, building be in the different steps. So this is a one of the demo case before to do the real case. You can see before and after. It's really important for technician to see already the color before to bake it. This is more easy for a beginning technician to control the shade, the color, the chroma, and the value. Why? Because most of the technician the new generation, maybe they are not really comfortable to build up a porcelain on the zirconia, and also because doctors would like to have a monolithic zirconia. So before and far and after, technician can really control the stain, can control the shape as well, because he can build a part of the anatomy that he can also improve the texture, and can also improve or enhance any value or any chroma of the restoration. So a different view, you can really see the three-dimensional effect of those stain. They are very simple. This is a very simple way how to turn from a zirconia white to any color you want. So some of the technicians, they prefer not to use the color actually of the A1 or A2. They prefer to use from white and having like Michele was showing about the pre-sintering color, and after the sintering you can use those stain here. So as you see on the right, it's just a minimum cutback, and you can really build with this ceramic stain. They are in paste, this Prodigio, and you can build also the shape. You can also not making teeth, you can also including the pink area. This material has been created also to create a good bonding between zirconia and porcelain. You can use as a stain, you can use as an internal stain, you can use it also as a bonding material. So let's say that you want to build the porcelain on the buckle of this zirconia, you can use those stain to characterize the color, but at the same time you are start to create the initial chemical bonding between the feldspathic and also the zirconia as well. That is one of the most important things. So you can build up to, in this situation, you can see 1.2 millimeter only with a stain. So technician, if feel more comfortable to use the stain instead of the porcelain, the big advantage that he can really see all the color that he's placing on the framework. He can really see all the texture. He can control the texture. If you have a chance to use those materials, you will see how the consistency is like composite. You can really control any anatomy you want. So here on the side, zirconia, you can see we can build up to 1.2 millimeters. So the color before you bake is very, very, very similar after you bake. So you can control transparency or mamelon effect, anything that you wish to put on your tooth, you can really control before you bake it. The other things that are very important is the translucency. If you can see in the retroilluminate light, the translucence of this material is really, really translucent like a normal porcelain, and that it makes you more vital your tooth. Why? Because you can make as you know, the normal stain that we have on the market, I've been using this one for 35 years, they're really opaque because they are metal oxide. They are pigments, and all the metal oxide, of course, they create some opacity. What we was able to create on this material, we're able to create a stain, but at the same time, translucent effect. You can go even a little bit more, you can build from the cupping in zirconia, you can build everything with this material. It's something that you can really play in any way you want. So I would start to show you some real cases. Then, Jennifer was so kind to invite me to do a 1 hour presentation after this little video. But now I'm going to start to give you just what kind of restoration you can be able to finalize with this kind of material. You can make a combination between a porcelain buildup, at the same time can be a combination of a stain. You can use only stain and stain buildup. You can use only porcelain buildup and finalize with the stain. This is a case very simple. It's an anterior implant bridge in zirconia. Has been used a minimum layering of porcelain, but mainly the stain buildup Prodigio was used on top of this buccal layering. It's a 5-unit on zirconium 3 implant in anterior case. Of course, we do all the digital workflow to create our framework design. And after we are ready with a custom abutment and zirconia, so we can have also zirconia pure color, could be on A1 or A2. In this situation, we didn't do any infiltration. We didn't use any stain on the pre-sintering stage. We just decided to do a minimum layering on the buckle. with the porcelain, and on top of this, we finalize either the white and the pink area with prodigious stain buildup. It's a very minimum layering. We're talking about the 0.5 millimeter. And the situation, of course, is not the ideal situation that we can have in the mouth, because we still have the canine of the patient that has this big recession. But this is a compromise. There are real cases that we do every day. And anyway, the patient is happy in whatever we deliver with that. That is really important, to have the happiness of the patient. This is a monolithic, completely monolithic zirconia. We use only prodigious stain. And this case that's been done with Dr. Mitrani, the Frank Spear Education in Mexico City. So we decide to use a completely monolithic, try to give as much as we can. Translucency actually is an illusion of translucency, of course, a pink of the monolithic. So no porcelain, really strong material. We are talking about the one for all. This is really strong material, but at the same time, we can play with those stains. This is another little bit more complex. It's a chrome cobalt with a pink porcelain and zirconia bridges cemented on top of this bridge. Why? Because the doctor was a little bit more concerned about using a zirconia underneath as a framework, but we are talking here 15 years ago. This is a case that's been done 15 years ago. Here in the beginning at US, people, they were a little bit skeptical to use a zirconia for big framework, also because there is a cantilever there. So they were asking if you can still using zirconia as a teeth, as an aesthetic, but having maybe a metal frame. So we have a chrome cobalt with a porcelain, pink porcelain, and all the teeth are in zirconia, using porcelain buildup and stain buildup at the same time. We really help this stain buildup doing the final texture. One of the most important things that technician doesn't really need to bake again another porcelain on top. With the stain buildup, you can finalize the static. This is another upper and lower implant that you see the texture that you can really play. All of this texture that you can see in this area here around the tooth with the pink, you can really play with the prodigious stain buildup, and you can control that with that material in any direction you want. You can create a texture that you can have exactly the same texture that you do before you bake. You will have that one after you bake. This is another case that you can see also different color, different shape. So we have different colors on the kit. The kit is made from one essential kit, very simple. For a technician, they don't really use a pink. But then we have another advanced kit where we have more colors, is 20 colors. And then we have, of course, everyone on the market, we have the pink gingival stain buildup that you can really play and having any effect top and hybrid on the lower that I will show you later on my presentation. So patient, the final smile, patient is happy. As you see, those are not a very easy case. They are very complex. The characterization of these teeth, like you see on the upper is a PFM, the lower they are Emax, and the pink on the top is porcelain, the pink on the lower is acrylic. It's a combination that you can really play around. And what I can see all the time, and I can say to my students, what I say always, we can have any material on the market that are available. And today we have a good material. What's important for us is to put the creativity that any technician, as Michele mentioned, a passion. You have to put your heart in this job, because either way you use a Prodigio, either way you use any material, you really need to have a passion. You need to love this job. You need to get inspired by the nature. At the same time, you put your creativity. Like those people here, they can create a creative word just by movement by themselves. So again, this video is short. A short video was planned to give only this presentation, and then I will later we can join with a final presentation. This is the view of my lab is just on Santa Monica Pier. So we need that view, otherwise we cannot get inspired with the Prodigio. So sometimes we need to go on the Santa Monica Pier. And here again, Metaxit is always behind these projects here, because I can tell you, not because she's here or because it's Metaxit. I've been working for many companies. Having the quality, the consistency of the material, and the passion how to realize the material, either zirconia, either those Prodigio material, is not easy to find it. I've been working with so many other material on the market, and they are not really consistent. Sometimes they have some issue. So if always having a consistent product, mostly when you do a full mount reconstruction, you cannot have a issue or problems during the bake, because as you know, as a technician, having a big case, handling with be worried if the case can be realized or not, or having some problem. So it's always better to have a company behind that it can give you consistency. It can give you also a professional technical support that can really help for you to finalize. This is a beautiful. I'll tell you next, and then can you click next? And then we can start it. So this is okay, the initial presentation. You can go on the next. Here you go. Okay, coloring system on pre-sintering zirconia. We start to a little bit talk about the pre-sintering zirconia. We can colorize, you can color the zirconia on the pre-sintering stage. It's something that it's a technique that the technician can choose. We can combine with the final stage. Next. Next. Here you can see zirconia. It was a white color. We can use any pre-sintering color staining, like on the gingival margin in this area. You can have some A3. Then we can use it with light gray or gray blue on the incisal edge, and with the same other color. You can also do the pink, or you can also emphasize some of the mamelons effect. Next. How we start with that. So zirconia, pure white zirconia, we start with a light blue inside of the concavity that we create those cutback on the pre-sintering stage. Next. And then we can play with different other color using a dentin A1, A2 as a first infiltration, some mamelon effect on the incisal edge. Then we can increase the chroma using a light orange or some orange ochre on the gingival. And you can see the light pink. This is very interesting. The light pink that you can see on the palatal. That's because we try to simulate the effect of the tongue color goes through the incisal edge of the tooth. It's really interesting. You can really simulate something just by applying this light pink on the palatal. Next. So this is the after the sintering. Of course, you see the zirconia is a 20% bigger. After you sintering, you have this effect there. And now it'd be very easy for technician to apply the porcelain or the stain buildup. Next. The final effect, it allow you, as you see on the palatal, you can really see the color is ready just for glaze. You can just polish, or you can just having glaze without any other additional colors. Next. This is another case to show how to, from the white zirconia, we put this stain, Prodigio stain on the sintering zirconia already. We can bake the pink and the white, and then you can build the porcelain, or you can build also the stain build up on top. Next. Zirconia texture, as I mentioned, and Bassem was a very good question, where you prefer to do this. I prefer to do this one on the pre-sintering stage, but one of the important thing, I've tried this pre-sintering texture before to do my texture. I tried with the other zirconia. Honestly, I can tell you, I found some of zirconia, they chip easy. because the consistency, while Jennifer was explaining, the way that isostatically they press those zirconia, it make you, the green stage, really, really homogeneous and compact material. So it's easy for you to make a texture without chipping the zirconia. Next. So you staining, you can play with this stain as an internal stain. What does it mean? That you can use not only to characterize your framework, but also to create a bonding for the next build stain buildup that you create on top. Yes. Minimum layering. If you use a porcelain, very little dentin, some enamel. In one bake, I prefer to have my final shape next. And after I place my enamel or effect or any translucency, I play with a lot of translucent material, because zirconia itself, even if it's a nice translucency like the smile, you still have, you know, this block of zirconia monolithic that you need to increase the translucency sometimes, or sometimes you need to increase opacity. Depends on the final shade. Next. So building on top, dentin, enamel, also the pink. Next. You see the texture. You can see the texture here before you bake it. You can really make the stiff on the tissue, and you can have exactly the same after you bake. This is just it came out from the furnace. You can really have this texture on playing on this material. Next. Final work. You decide to glaze it. Sometimes I don't really glaze. I prefer to do a mechanical polishing. It's a manual polishing with all the diamond paste that we have on the, also available on the kit. They are a really nice diamond paste that you can use. You can make a very nice, smooth and brightness and brilliance of the porcelain as well. Next. So the final bake, if you really need to do any correction, you can, in this situation, we use a porcelain, but I will show you later, we can use a stain buildup. Next. This is the final quality of the surface. What's important? We don't want to see something that is really opaque or something that you can patch that you can see there is no color inside. That's important because in the oral cavity, the quality of the material is important for the longevity. It's important for the leakage of all the bacteria that it can well on top of this surface. So the quality of the micro grain size of the material, it allow you to make a very smooth surface. Next. Let's start with a real case. And next we can show very quick some of it. Very simple case. I'm not a really fan of the single anterior. I don't have that patient anymore. I'm that old. I let Michele do this. They still like it. They still enjoy to do the single unit. But sometimes we have to. So this is a very simple case to copy number 8. Next. So in this situation is an Emax. We use a stain buildup to customize the final color. Next. We need to understand also that the limitation today of stain buildup is to create some very, very minimal restoration without any support. Our stain buildup, like all the stain buildup, need to be used on top of a surface, could be a zirconia or Emax or PFM. Next, in this situation, I know that sometimes we don't have that chance to use our stain, but we can just having a normal prepless veneers. Next, that with the traditional, very, very thin, but you can still using on top of this feldspathic. Next, you can use this, still using this stain buildup to emphasize the anatomy. They are very, very thin. Next, they are thin for very also challenge for the technician is well for the doctor, because cementing these very small veneers, they are really, really thin. You may have some issue on the handling and placing in the patient mouth. Next. This is another case. Actually, the doctor is from Abu Dhabi. He was one of the students at USC. He was a grad prost student, and he's a really talented guy. He's a really talented. I think his name is Dr. Anas Alum. And we were starting for his residency. You know, I was doing his cases, and this is one simple case for veneers. Next, that the patient decided to do just 10, 11, and 21, if I remember your numbers, 7, 8, and 9. So next, this is a traditional feldspathic veneers on the refractory, but we can still using on top our stain, our buildup. Next. So anatomy, of course, is something that is something creative from the technician. There's to be try to put something in balance with the rest of the dentition. Next. And this is the final results. I mean, is acceptable. Patient was happy. There is nothing special that we can do it. We just need to try to put in harmony, in balance with the rest of the dentition. It's a different view, as long as the patient is happy. This is another one, very simple case. Patient actually was one of my ceramists. It was very interesting. A young lady, 23 years old. She came on Monday morning in the lab and said, Domenico, I have one problem. Usually coming the Monday morning, the only thing as a boss, you think she wants to quit, right? Said, okay, what's your problem is? I said, I broke my tooth. What happened to your tooth? What did you do? He said, she's a Korean, is Asian, right? So I said, why, how did you do to break your tooth? And she said, oh, yesterday I hung up with my friends. We had some brunch together. I was eating some pastries or some cookies with a fork. And when I bite, I bite also the fork. Well, I said, how many times do I need to tell you that the fork are for European and are not for Asian? You should use a chopstick. I said, the lady, she was, Domenico, stop laughing. This is serious. I broke my tooth. Okay. So what I did here, I take just a normal impression in alginate, very quick for her in the lab. You can see next. And then I create a very small veneers with a refractory. And then I call one of my doctors close to Santa Monica. The first one is in Beverly Hills. I said, he said, hey man, you're gonna go to bond this little piece of porcelain. So go next. And you see, she bonded the porcelain. She bonded these veneers. And finally, she got back the little piece, because you could bond the same piece that if she could save, but she threw away everything with the cookies, and so she got panicked. That's the problem. So even this kind of restoration, you can use the stain buildup to finalize the color or anything you want. And now we can talk about zirconia. Zirconia is a one material that has a very good properties, but it has a limitation. But we need to collaborate with a material that will give you warranty for us that can be predictable on the using. I've seen other mini zirconia where the optical properties, they are not really consistent on the production. So this is my experience. Maybe my eyes are a little bit too picky. You order A1, for example, for a company for a few months. After other months for the same company, they give you the A1 is not the same. And you start to understand, what did I do wrong? It's not that we do something wrong, because we just use the same zirconia with the same program. The problem is the consistency that Jennifer was mentioning, the consistency, the way that they press, the pigments, the quality control. That is really important. So I prefer, yes, to spend a little bit more, because you have a better quality, you spend a little. Like I always tell my student, you want to drive a Ferrari? Okay, we are welcome to come in Italy, but you have to pay the Ferrari. This is not a problem. So I know for Jennifer is a Mercedes. I have a Mercedes, Jennifer, don't worry. I don't have a Ferrari yet. So we can really be, rely on the material. Can you next? This is a first case that I want to show you how we manage our stain internally and externally after we build the porcelain. Next, so the patient here has a situation, as you see, someone else did the restoration, as you see on the left, has only 2 implants, and the patient was not happy. And we try to go through different steps. So next, we make wax up first. Try to be creative. Hopefully the patient can like it. This is a provisional. And next, this provisional needs to place in the mouth to counter the tissue, to understand anatomy, everything. And from here, next, we can deliver that provisional. Finally, the patient can evaluate, can give us a feedback if we can continue doing the same product, the same anatomy, the same translucent, everything. So patient was happy on the overall for the final outcome, but wants to have some modification with it for the final. Next. So the final is just a zirconia. This is a one for all zirconia, and with a build-up porcelain, because we need to give a lot of translucency also on the pontic area. I prefer to use a porcelain very highly polished on the contact with the tissue for tissue health. That is my experience. Next. So on this point, we can build our porcelain. I always try to build my final shape with a 10% bigger. Next. And from here, I can show you some of my steps. So this has been published on the book that I have is almost 10 years on the market. It's always a nice book because it's made for every single step for porcelain, how to build up with all the recipe for the powders on the fact and whatever. It doesn't really matter which brand you're using, but what's important is the concept of the color. So we always start to some opacious dentin. Next. And this is the way that I try to build. I start always with the transition line angles in dentin, using always 2 or 3 dentin. And on top of the dentin, I do not put any enamel. I start to put a translucency effect, transparent effect. Why? Because I want to have, right after the dentin, some translucency behind the enamel. I can control that translucency after I do the bake. If the translucency is too much, I can control the translucency. But if I want to increase the translucency, I have to reduce a cutback and place a new powders there. Next. So I prefer that to put that material. As I explain you, this is the book that is available on the market. And as I mentioned, this material, the stain buildup, has been used also for bonding. You can really create a good bonding between the zirconia and porcelain. Next. This you can see on the book, all the recipes. It can show you all the powder that we use, what the kind of fact we put, what kind of enamel, what kind of dentin, what criteria. Next, what criteria we use for also on the lingual side. We need to emphasize every part of the tooth. I would always say, my student, when they have a project to stain, for example, number 8 or whatever is number 11 in Europe, I said, okay, the patient is paying also for the lingual side. You cannot stain only buccal side. You have to stain everything. And actually, I can tell you the stain on the lingual side is helping to receive the light through the material and having better effect on the buccal as well. Next. Now, we do the first bake. We want to have some internal coloring that could be a very good bonding with the second bake. So what is my inspiration, as you see on the left, is a natural tooth. I took a natural tooth. I was able in the school to get this tooth for a periodontal problem of a patient. And this keeping hydrating the tooth, I did a cutback on the natural tooth to see inside how is the structure, how is the translucency, how is the mamelons effect, all are the horizontal bands. I try to report that with my Prodigio stain on the first bake. So as you see, these horizontal bands, it's a really, really, really small lines that we cannot drawing one by one. I do the texture on the porcelain, and then I spread my white stain. The Snow White stain from Prodigio is a beautiful color that is not even opaque. And then I mix some coloring, orange or whatever is requires and then I do my bake. Next. After you that, you finish with a second or third bake, and finalize all the texture and the transition line angles with stain buildup. This is more easy to control shape, color, and texture on the final with the stain buildup than with the porcelain. Of course, I've been using porcelain for 35 years, but I see today is faster for me to use a stain buildup because you can control also translucency, the amount of translucency. Because the time that you put in this area on number 10, oh, sorry, on number 11 or 21, on distal area, you put this little translucency in bluish, you can really control the amount of the translucency by visual before you bake it. Next. This is the final patient. Is just a normal patient, was happy with the final outcome. has been approved already. Always I prefer to do a provisional to make sure that patient knows what she's receiving as a final work. Next. This is one that I launched at the beginning. As I explained, this patient had some, this doctor has some complaint, some concern about zirconia in general, but it was like 15 years ago. We're talking like in 2005, when I was a little bit younger. So we did this kind of restoration, and the doctor said, I want to use the metal, but I don't want to have a contact of the metal with the tissue. So I had to wrap around my pink porcelain. I had to customize my chrome cobalt with opacious dentin. And now I have this framework. I did the zirconia. These are smile zirconia that on top with minimum layering and stain buildup. Next. So this case, delivery as a screw retain, because the access hole comes through the bridges. So the bridge has been cemented on top of the big frame, and that the doctor needs just to screw the entire restoration in the patient mouth. Next. This is another patient. I'm just showing how difficult you can handle this case by using this material. Patient came in this situation with a partial. Next. And as you may see here, the situation is really critical. So has to go through, it's a very long presentation, so we're going to go very quick for us as a technician to explain our product. But as being through the bone graft, the tissue graft, they did implant. Next, and we end up with implants upper and lower, and the treatment planning was PFM on the top and hybrid on the lower. So we have two different material, but we want to have only one stain buildup in order for us to match the color, because it's hard. If you go next, we will see the amount of the framework is being made by hand. This is going to be a PFM. It's a high gold content. As you know, as a technician, it's not really easy to cast this kind of amount of material to get the passive fit. But we need to handle sometimes this kind of restoration. Next, so our metal framework at the end is really, really big. It has to be a special design, because this special design is allow you to absorb all the tension of the porcelain when you're baking. It's not only talking about aesthetic. We need to talk about functional. We need to talk about occlusion. We need a passive fit. Next. So in this situation, we just build the porcelain on the top with the PFM, and the lower are Emax lithium disilicate crowns inside of the acrylic. It's an hybrid. Now, at the end, what it was at the beginning, my goal, to have only one stain for any material. Because if I have to stain this restoration, I cannot use a stain for PFM on the top, stain for lithium disilicate, stain for the pink. That would be sometimes a little bit hard for technician to handle. Finally, we have this material that can bond to any kind of zirconia, lithium disilicate, and PFM. Next. This is another one that I show you. You see all of this, you can see the little festooning we can do on the pink area that you can really control by the color and also by the shape of anatomy of the tissue. Next. Another case is more into the dark colors. It's not common to do this color here. And this is the final aesthetic outcome that you can really get a texture. You can see the texture. This texture is more easy for technician to get with the stain buildup. So I think I was able to finish. Can you go next? So this is I want to see first of all, thank you for Bassem, for Jennifer, for inviting me that. It was very pleasure. Finally, I can start my day. My students are here. I can see my window. They are waiting for me. And if you have any question, anything, you have my email there. You have my phone number. You can feel free to call me or to email me for anything. And I'll be more than happy one day to join you guys in Dubai with Michele, having some hands-on or some live hands-on. We can really see the material together. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I'm still here. There is no problem to answer you.
Thank you so much, Domenico, for this, also for little problems, but I think we managed it very well, and you show us a lot how you can use Prodigio and also the different Z-cut portfolio in different cases. Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.